Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Imagine waking up tomorrow and the world is quiet. Not a silence of sound, but a silence of the soul. You look at your beloved pet and feel nothing. You hear news of a global triumph, and there's no surge of joy. A tragic headline flashes across your screen, and your eyes read the words, but your heart remains unstirred. The rush of anger, the warmth of love, the pang of sorrow, the thrill of excitement, they're all just gone. Every flicker of emotion, every nuanced feeling, every visceral reaction that colors our existence has simply vanished, as if a switch was flipped in the collective consciousness of humanity. What would that world look like? How would we navigate it? What would become of our societies, our relationships, our very understanding of what it means to be human, if the rich tapestry of our emotional lives was suddenly, irrevocably, unspooled into a monochrome thread? This isn't a story of suppression or a temporary numbing. It's a world where the capacity for emotion itself has been eradicated. A world where every decision is purely rational, every interaction purely transactional, and every breath simply a biological necessity. Today, we're diving deep into the chilling hypothetical. What if emotions vanished? Let's begin by considering the immediate, individual impact. If emotions ceased to exist, our personal lives would be unrecognizable. Decision-making, which is often influenced by our feelings, fear of regret, hope for success, desire for happiness, would become purely logical. Imagine choosing a career based solely on economic viability and skill set, without any consideration for passion or personal fulfillment. Relationships would transform from bonds of affection and empathy into purely utilitarian arrangements. Why would you stay with a partner if there was no love, no joy in their company, no shared laughter? Friendship, the bedrock of mutual support and shared experience, would dissolve into networks of individuals offering practical assistance. The intricate dance of human connection, built on understanding and responding to each other's emotional states, would become a clumsy, mechanical exchange. Without the capacity for empathy, a simple, "How are you?" would lose all meaning beyond a basic health check. Now, let's zoom out to the societal level. The absence of emotions would fundamentally alter the fabric of our communities and institutions. Consider the justice system. Without a sense of fairness, outrage at injustice, or compassion for victims, how would laws be conceived and enforced? Punishments might be meted out based on purely statistical deterrence, devoid of any moral consideration. Crime itself, often driven by passions like greed, jealousy, or anger, might drastically change. Would crime rates plummet due to the absence of these motivators, or would a lack of moral compass and fear of consequences lead to a colder, calculated form of transgression? Wars, historically fueled by hatred, territorial ambition, and the pursuit of power, might cease to exist, or they might become bloodless, algorithmic conflicts fought over resources, executed with cold efficiency. On the other hand, the absence of empathy could also mean an absence of the will to compromise or seek peaceful resolutions, potentially leading to more brutal, decisive actions. The economy, too, would undergo a seismic shift. Advertising, a multi-billion-dollar industry built on tapping into our desires, fears, and aspirations, would become obsolete. Products would be sold purely on their functional merit. Brand loyalty, often an emotional attachment, would vanish. Consumer choices would be dictated by objective metrics: efficiency, durability, cost. Stock markets, currently susceptible to panic and euphoria, might stabilize into predictable, rational movements, but the innovation driven by ambition and the desire for recognition might also dwindle. Businesses would operate like sterile machines, optimizing for profit without considering employee morale or customer satisfaction, because those concepts would no longer hold any emotional weight. Even philanthropy, rooted in compassion and a desire to alleviate suffering, would cease to exist. Why help others if you feel no connection to their plight? Perhaps one of the most profound impacts would be on culture and the arts. Art, music, literature, and drama are inherently expressions of the human emotional experience. Love songs, tragic plays, inspiring poems, vibrant paintings, all draw their power from evoking feelings within us. In a world without emotions, would these art forms simply vanish? Or would they transform into purely technical exercises? A musician might still compose complex harmonies, but the melodies would lack soul, the rhythms would evoke no passion. A writer might construct intricate narratives, but the characters would be hollow, their journeys devoid of internal conflict or emotional growth. Museums would house technically impressive artifacts, but they would be relics of a forgotten way of experiencing the world, leaving visitors untouched. The very concept of beauty, often tied to an emotional response, would become an arbitrary aesthetic judgment. Education would also face a radical overhaul. Learning is often motivated by curiosity, the joy of discovery, or the fear of failure. Without these emotional drivers, what would compel students to learn beyond rote memorization of facts deemed practically useful? Teachers, unable to connect with students on an emotional level or inspire them, would become mere information dispensers. Humanities, which explore the human condition through emotional lenses, would likely be marginalized or disappear entirely. How could one study history without understanding the hopes and fears that drove past civilizations, or literature without grasping the emotional arcs of its characters? The purpose of education would narrow, focusing solely on the acquisition of skills necessary for societal function, stripped of any broader developmental or personal enrichment goals. Consider the realm of scientific discovery and innovation. While scientific research is often seen as a logical process, it is profoundly driven by emotions. Curiosity, the excitement of a breakthrough, the frustration of failure, the desire to alleviate suffering, the ambition to make a mark, these are powerful motivators for scientists. Without the thrill of discovery or the empathetic drive to cure diseases, would scientific progress stagnate? Would researchers continue to push the boundaries of knowledge if there was no personal investment, no wonder, no sense of accomplishment? While the basic need for efficiency and problem-solving might persist, the truly groundbreaking, paradigm-shifting innovations often arise from a deeper, more emotional wellspring of human ingenuity.